Welcome back to Wall Again, where passion meets music, and in this video I'm going to be giving my full review of the gig at the weekend, Back to the Beginning, the Black Sabbath and Ozzy Osbourne celebration. So when this gig was originally announced, like everyone else, I tried to get tickets for Villa Park. Unfortunately didn't get tickets, but then when the streaming was announced, I was really happy. I decided I'm going to buy the streaming ticket and I'm going to kick back in the comfort of my own home in my music room. I'm going to watch it on the big TV, get the surround sound speakers or the stereo speakers and set up the sofa and enjoy the whole event. So I'm sorry I'm so late in getting this video out to you guys. If anyone was following the channel over the weekend, you'll have known it was a very busy weekend for the channel. Of course, we had Oasis kicking off their reunion tour in Cardiff on Friday night, so I was trying to cover some of that. And then I was also trying to cover the music on the day of the Black Sabbath gig. But unfortunately, I tried to stream some of the gig for you guys and I got a copyright strike and that video got taken down and I wasn't able to live stream anymore. So I tried to fill that gap by just recording videos between the sets and uploading them. And to be fair, a lot of you have really embraced that and watched those videos and given it likes and comments. So I really appreciate that. But yeah, my live stream should be up and running again and I'm looking forward to getting that going. But yeah, basically the videos that I had uploaded were kind of segmented and they were after certain acts, and we didn't really cover all of the bands on the bill. Myself and Gav met up for a couple of videos, but we didn't cover all the bands. So I wanted to do a full encompassing video, my reaction to the full day, band by band, set by set. And I'll also cover how I received a copyright strike and my plans for that, and what you should and shouldn't do if you're planning on recording music or recording video and uploading it to the internet. But in saying all that, I did gain an extra 1,000 subscribers on the channel. So I went from about 5,200 to about 6,200. So I really appreciate all the new subscribers that have joined. Please stick with me, because on this channel, if you're into heavy metal, rock, prog rock, anything like that, you're into guitar playing, you're going to enjoy this channel because we're putting out content the whole time in that whole genre of music. So stick with us and hopefully you will be entertained. So I've been a Black Sabbath fan since I picked up a guitar, since I was probably 15, 16 years of age. Even before that, I was introduced to the band through my mum's cousin, and he was a big heavy metal, Black Sabbath and Led Zeppelin fan actually, and he introduced me to Black Sabbath. I didn't really get into them when I was young, say 10, 11, when he first introduced me to them, but when I picked up a guitar, they were certainly one of those bands that I really thought were amazing. They did reunite back in 2012 or 13, and I got a chance to see them when I was in Brisbane in Australia on that tour. So it was Ozzy Osbourne on vocals, Tony Iommi on guitar, Geezer Butler on bass, and he had actually Tommy Clufitas on drums. So that was a great gig. I saw them in Brisbane back in 2013, and then they played Dublin in January 2017, and I caught them again, the same lineup, and this was the end tour at that time. So we thought that was the end of Black Sabbath, but they still had a bit more in them. But that was a great tour, a great set list, and yeah, they were really, really great to see live as a band. But I think they're actually a bigger band now, to be honest, than they were back then. So yeah, Black Sabbath, I've always loved them. I thought their music was fantastic, really, good guitar music, good heavy drums, and great vocals as well from Ozzy. Darker lyrics by Geezer as well, so they always had a bit of a nuance to them. I thought the streaming ticket price was very good, to be honest with you, and I had no problem paying that when I saw the bands that were announced as a part of it. Some of the bands that didn't actually make the bill, and this was kind of funny, I thought it was unusual that some bands didn't actually make it, and they were glaring omissions in my opinion. So when you talk about like heavy metal and Back to the Beginning, you have to talk about bands like Iron Maiden. So I don't know, was it a management thing or a schedule thing? There's some reason why Iron Maiden were not on the bill, and I thought they were a glaring omission. I know Iron Maiden and Metallica don't get on very well, so maybe that was a reason, but Iron Maiden were left off completely and they weren't even mentioned at all. So I thought that was a glaring omission. The band Judas Priest were also left off the bill. Now KK Downing did appear, and I will get into that later on, but Judas Priest didn't appear on the bill, so I thought that was a strange one. And another band that I thought would appear on the bill is Megadeth. So if you take the four thrash metal icons, or the big four of thrash metal, you have Metallica, Anthrax, Slayer and Megadeth. All the other three bands appeared, but Megadeth didn't. Now again, their bassist David Ellefson, well, he used to be their bassist until he was kicked out. He actually played a couple of the songs with the supergroup, but Megadeth did make an appearance. Dave Mustaine didn't make an appearance. Another band that I thought were left off the bill was Machine Head. So, and again, another massive heavy metal band from the 2000s. And I thought, you know, the fact that Lamb of God were in there, I thought Machine Head probably should have been in there, but they weren't included either. In relation to some of the newer bands, like new metal bands, I thought Slipknot were also a glaring omission. They were at the forefront of the whole new metal wave, and I thought they definitely should have been considered for a short set on that bill. Considering some of the bands that were there, they weren't really metal bands, some of them, but I thought Slipknot deserved a place there. Limp Bizkit were represented by Fred Durst, who he carried out, or he sang a cover of Changes. It was recorded in his studio and then it was just broadcast during the event. So that was a nice touch. Obviously Limp Bizkit couldn't make it to the event. And then Korn as well were represented by Jonathan Davis. He just had a few words to say about Ozzy and Black Sabbath and what they meant to him. So that was nice to see that. But again, they didn't play on the bill. And also Linkin Park were another omission. But I think maybe Linkin Park are considered one of those bands that, you know, maybe the old school heavy metal crowd aren't as into, but I think they would have fitted in well with that whole bill. Some other omissions were the Foo Fighters, because they seem to be on all of these bills, or certainly Dave Grohl seems to get into all these tribute concerts, so I was surprised not to see him there, especially because he was in the UK. He was spotted at Wembley last week, and he was apparently at a Fountains DC and Kneecap gig, two Irish bands actually, but he was attending their gig on the night the Black Sabbath gig was on, apparently. AC/DC was another band that was missing from the bill, but I think AC/DC aren't really a metal band, they're more a rock band, and they probably would have been too big for that bill, to be honest. Like, where would you put them after Metallica, before Black Sabbath? It would have been strange if they were there. So I can understand why AC/DC weren't there. And again, they had a very heartfelt message. Brian and Angus came on and they spoke about Black Sabbath and Ozzy and what it meant to them, and wished them the best of luck for the gig. So it was nice to see that. Another band that probably could have been there was Rush. Obviously they were massively influenced by Black Sabbath on their earlier albums, but again, you know, there's only two members. They would have had to find a drummer and get all that organised. So I think, yeah, fair enough. In terms of some of those bands that weren't on the bill, is probably right that they weren't there. So let's kick in with the full set list, as it were. So it started off, the live stream started at 3 o'clock. Shortly thereafter, Mastodon came on to our TV screens. They played 3 songs. They started with Black Thunder, which I wasn't very familiar with. Then they played Blood and Thunder, and that's a fantastic song. Sorry, they started with Black Tongue, and then they played Blood and Thunder. Blood and Thunder is a great song. I thought it went down really well. The crowd looked good for that one. And then they played Supernaut, which is an absolutely fantastic song. And they brought out, obviously it's the first Black Sabbath cover of the day, Supernaut. And they brought out Mario Duplantier from Gojira, Danny Carey from Tool, and Elo Casagrande from Slipknot. So Slipknot were represented there, I suppose. But yeah, it was great to see. Great to see Mastodon, and great to see all those excellent drummers coming out there with them. Second band on then were Rival Sons. So they started off with their own song, Do Your Worst, which was absolutely brilliant. And then they played Electric Funeral by Black Sabbath. And you could see they really rehearsed this song. They were really into it. They had no mistakes. They were very comfortable with it. And I think they performed it really, really well. And they finished off with a song called Secret, which is one of their own songs. And I have to say, I was blown away by them. I thought they really, really performed well. And they definitely got a thumbs up from me. The next band on were Anthrax. And they started with a song called Indians. I'm not too familiar with Anthrax. And I have to say, I thought this song, Indians, it's very long. Maybe they were going for a kind of an Iron Maiden type concept song with this song. I'm not very familiar with it. You might tell me in the comments below. But I have to say, it really didn't do a whole lot for me, Indians. I would have preferred if they played like maybe Madhouse or Caught in the Mosh, or one of those songs that I'm maybe a little bit more familiar with. But then they went into the Void by Black Sabbath, which is absolutely fantastic. Scott Ian's a fantastic rhythm guitar player, and they really did that song justice. They were followed then by Halestorm, of course fronted by Izzy Hale. So Halestorm played Love Bites and So Do I, Rain Your Blood on Me. They're both Halestorm songs. I've seen these guys a lot of times live. I think they're quite good, but sometimes I have to say Izzy Hale's voice can kind of grind on me. She does that whole female screech metal voice, and sometimes it can be a bit much to take. But they finished off with a cover of an Ozzy Osbourne song, Perry Mason, which I wasn't very familiar with. But nonetheless, they did it quite well. Then Lamb of God came out. They started with one of their own songs, Lay to Rest, and things kicked up a gear then. We were starting to see circle pits form. and great camera work from all the people, all the production team that were there to capture the energy that was happening then at Villa Park. One of their biggest songs then, Redneck, followed, and that was absolutely brilliant. You could really see the crowd getting pumped up for that one. And they finished with Children of the Grave, which is of course a Black Sabbath cover. Now, I thought for Children of the Grave, I thought the lead vocalist Randy Blythe, he did struggle with the range, and that's something that a lot of people don't understand, I suppose, about Black Sabbath. Like Ozzy Osbourne, you might dislike his vocal style, but he did have a great range when he was back in his earlier days, and I think you could really see that throughout the day. A lot of people were struggling to hit the high notes that Ozzy was able to hit when he was in his 20s and 30s. So I thought that was interesting. So Randy actually defaulted back to his growling vocals because he couldn't really get the notes, so they were doing their own version of it. It wasn't a particularly great version, to be honest. The band were okay, but I just didn't think Randy was great. Then the next band on was Tom Morello's All Stars, or Supergroup A as it was billed. So this was very interesting. They started off with a song called The Ultimate Sin, and on that one was Izzy Hale on vocals. We had Jake E. Lee on lead guitar, Nuno Betancourt on rhythm guitar, David Ellefson on bass, Mike Borden on drums, and Adam Wakeman, who plays keys with Ozzy's band for years and also with Black Sabbath. And he's also the son of course, Rick Wakeman, who is from Yes fame. So they played The Ultimate Sin. Again, I wasn't overly familiar with that song. I'm more a Black Sabbath fan than an Ozzy fan, but that went down quite well. Then David Draiman came out and replaced Izzy and sang two songs, Shot in the Dark and Sweet Leaf. Now, there was a lot of boos and stuff for David Draiman, and I don't want to get into the politics of it. You can see more videos on that online, but I thought it was kind of strange that he was there singing and, you know, the crowd weren't really into it. They were kind of ignoring him a little bit, I thought. So Jake E. Lee played on Shot in the Dark, and there was actually only one guitar on Shot in the Dark, and you could really hear Jake playing there. Now, he has arthritis and he has some issues, but I thought he performed quite well, and the solo was okay. You know, it was quite good, all things considered. And then we had Scott Ian came on with Nuno Betancourt, and they played Sweet Leaf, which I thought was quite strong from a band point of view. And then David Draiman got replaced by Whitfield Crane on vocals from Ugly Kid Joe, and Frank Bello came out and took the bass duties over from David Ellison. They played an Ozzy Osbourne song called Believer, which I thought was good, and then they finished with Changes, which I thought was actually brilliant. They dedicated it to the Liverpool soccer player Diogo Jota, who is Portuguese, and Nuno Betancourt's Portuguese, so they had an affinity, and Nuno Betancourt donned on the Liverpool jersey for this one, and they played a fantastic version of Changes, and it was sung by Youngblood, who everyone said stole the show. He was probably one of the best vocalists of the full day. So that was absolutely fantastic. Following this, then we got a version of Mr. Crowley performed by Jack Black with some children musicians, which was, you know, a hark back to School of Rock. I just found out that one of those musicians, the guitar player, he's actually Tom Morello's son, and Tom Morello was, of course, the musical director for the whole day. So I thought it was an excellent version of Mr. Crowley, and the kids did brilliant, and Jack Black's always fun to watch, but it was obviously recorded earlier and then, you know, streamed at the event, so very good to see that. The next band on stage were Alice in Chains, who I thought were quite good, although they had some technical difficulties, shall we say. They started off with Man in the Box, but for some reason Jerry Cantrell's vocal mic was way down, and if you know that song, the backing vocals in that song are key, especially in the chorus. So I thought that was a bit of an error there on the engineer's part, whoever was responsible. Maybe it was a mic that needed to be replaced, but they didn't fix that. The band then went on to play Wood, and I thought that was quite good as well. But again, you were missing the backing vocals from Jerry Cantrell. And then they finished off with a cover of Fairies Wear Boots, of course, the Black Sabbath song. And the sound cut out for that. And I was live streaming at this point, and people were messaging me saying the sound is gone, the sound is gone. And other people were replying saying, yeah, it's gone all over the world. It's not just this live stream. So I was glad to see that. I actually stuck a bit of Black Sabbath on in the background for that song. And then people were saying, no, don't do that, you'll get blocked. And in the end, my video got blocked and I got copyright strike anyway. But they replayed the Alice in Chains set from earlier in the day later on then at one of the breaks. So you still got to see the full set there. The next band on stage were Gojira, and I thought Gojira were absolutely fantastic. They started with two of their own songs, Stranded, followed by Silvera, which are probably two of their biggest songs. They're really heavy, but really, really good. Mario Duplantier, probably one of the best drummers in the world right now. And then they played the song that won them a Grammy from the Olympics last year, Mia Kupla. Marina Viotti helped them out on vocals on that one. And then they finished with Under the Sun, which is a Black Sabbath cover. Again, I thought the lead vocalist struggled big time on this one. He wasn't able to hit the notes, and they even said they don't play many covers. So you could see they were outside their comfort zone in this one, but still nice to see them tipping the hat to Black Sabbath. After this, we had a drum off, which was it was a bit odd. So we had Travis Barker from Blink-182, who wasn't on the bill. Okay, we had Chad Smith from Red Hot Chili Peppers and Danny Carey from Tool all come out with Tom Morello, Nuno Bettencourt, and Rudy Sarzo. And they basically ran through a version of Symptom of the Universe with breaks where there was, drum solos and stuff. It was excellent. It was really, really cool. Following that, then we had Supergroup B. So they started off with Breaking the Law. So this was obviously a Judas Priest cover. So nice to see a tip of the hat to Judas Priest there. So Billy Corgan was on vocals, Tom Morello on guitar, KK Downing on lead guitar. Adam Jones was also on rhythm guitar there from Tool. Rudy Sarzo, of course, a long-time collaborator with Ozzy, was on bass, and Danny Carey on drums. So it was quite good. Danny Carey had a couple of hairy moments there, just probably not used to the song. Wouldn't be due to his technique or due to his ability. He's probably just not familiar with the song, so he had a few little hiccups there. And I thought Billy Corgan did struggle a little bit with the vocals in terms of the range. He's no Rob Halford, certainly not at this age, but I thought he still did well. Then they played one of my favourite Black Sabbath songs, Snowblind. That was absolutely amazing. It was the same lineup for that one. And then Sammy Hagar came out on vocals, replaced Billy. Nuno Bettencourt came out, and we had Chad Smith take over on drums. Rudy stayed on bass. Vernon Reid came out on guitar as well. And we had Flying High again, an Ozzy Osbourne cover. Again, not one I would have been very familiar with. And then they sang a Montrose song, who is Sammy Hagar's previous band. And I thought that was really, really good now. Really gelled well together. Tom Morello came out to support on that one. And then they played Bark at the Moon. Now this one was sung by the lead singer from Ghost, Tobias Forge. I think he's calling himself Papa the Fifth Perpetua at the moment. He had Vernon Reid on rhythm guitar, Nuno Bettencourt on lead guitar, Adam Wakeman on keyboards, Rudy Sarzo on bass, and Travis Barker on drums. Now I thought it was a decent version, but I just think it kind of went a bit flat because Ghost with the mask and everything, I don't think they had a connection to the crowd. Sorry, the lead singer from Ghost, should I say, Tobias Forge. I don't think he had a connection with the crowd, and it kind of went a little bit flat for me. I love that song. It was fantastic. Of course, Nuno Bettencourt was amazing on lead guitar. The solo on this one is fantastic. But yeah, that was cool. Bark at the Moon by Ozzy Osbourne, a tribute of Ozzy Osbourne. And then it was very strange. They brought out Ronnie Wood and Andrew Watt, and they played a version of Train Kept a Rollin', which to me is like a rock and roll song, okay? It's one of those songs that I think when Metallica were being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, they brought out all these like Aerosmith and Ronnie Wood and people like this, and they just played a version of that song. And I thought it was, it's just one of those generic songs that you just empty the subs bench, bring in all these musicians, and basically just like rip through a song that's easy to play that everyone would know. And I really felt it was probably a low point in the whole day. I didn't enjoy it at all. Sorry, I should mention Steven Tyler came out with Ronnie Wood, and Steven Tyler sang on this one. And again, Aerosmith covered that song a lot, so that was no major surprise. But I thought Ronnie Wood shouldn't have been there. He played a couple of guitar solos. They weren't great. The first one was okay, and then he tried to put his hand into his pocket to pick up one of these, his slide. And he couldn't get it in time for the next break, and then he kind of half started a slide guitar solo on the second break. It was very fumbly, very elderly, and I just didn't think Ronnie Wood should have been there. I don't think the Rolling Stones are even in the same conversation as Black Sabbath. Like, they're just not a metal band, and I think Ronnie Wood was maybe just in the area and decided to jump on stage, and I just think it went down bad. Didn't go down well. Then they played a version of Walk This Way. So Ronnie Wood left the stage. That was propped up by 3 guitarists there, Nuno Bettencourt, Tom Morello, and Andrew Watt, who was, of course, producer for the latest Rolling Stones, the latest Ozzy Osbourne, the latest Pearl Jam album. So he was absolutely fantastic. Holding it down here was Rudy Sarzo and Chad Smith on drums. So that was great to see those two guys locking in. They played a version of Walk This Way, which was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And Steven Tyler was fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Really got the crowd going, waving hands and all the rest. I really thought he was brilliant on this one. And then they broke into a version of Whole Lotta Love by Led Zeppelin, which I thought was fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. The crowd were really into this one. Of course, Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, there's not a million miles between them. And I should point out, Deep Purple weren't actually on the bill, and they were another band that come from that era that could have potentially been on the bill, but weren't there. So just put that point in there. So that was Supergroup B, Tom Morello's All-Stars, they were called, who finished up. And then we had the set from Pantera, who started off with Cowboys from Hell and Walk, which was, pretty good. A funny segment in this one, Jason Momoa actually jumped into the crowd, so he was the compere for the day, the host, and he loves Pantera, loves heavy metal, and he actually jumped into the crowd, went into the circle pit, and that was great fun to see that. Then Pantera played a version of Planet Caravan, which I wasn't impressed with. Planet Caravan is usually played with a clean electric guitar, by Black Sabbath, and also by Pantera when they covered it back in the day. So I just thought for Pantera to cover Planet Caravan, they should probably use a clean electric guitar, but for some reason Zakk Wylde decided to use a very distorted electric guitar tone, and in my opinion didn't really work. Then they played Electric Funeral. It was okay, but I actually thought Rival Sons did a better job. So we're getting into songs now played more than once by different bands, which is cool, there's no problem with that, but maybe it would have been better if Pantera played a different cover. I think Phil really struggled with Electric Funeral, especially with the range there. The next band up were Tool, and I have to be honest here, I had been sitting on the sofa watching this event for a good probably 5 hours at this stage, and I needed a break, I needed a bit of food, and I needed to just get out of the room for a couple of minutes, for half an hour. So I gave the Tool set a miss, and I didn't actually watch any of it back before it was cancelled. They played 46 and 2. They played Hand of Doom by Black Sabbath, which I believe was amazing, and then they finished off with Anima. So I must get that performance and watch it back, because people are absolutely raving about how great it was. I'm not the biggest Tool fan, and sometimes I think their music can go, it can be a bit flat, and I caught the first 30 seconds to a minute of their set, and I thought they were a little bit flat, but I need to really watch it back to give a good review on that one. The next band on were Slayer, and they played Disciple and War Ensemble at the start, and to be honest, it really goes over my head. I think Slayer are a very heavy band, but their lyrical content, wouldn't resonate with me at all. I really don't like what they're singing about. I know it's heavy metal, I know it's dark, but it's hard to listen, to that kind of music for me. I think the riffs are great and the drums are great, but the lyrical content is just lost on me. They played Wicked World then, which was quite good, but again, Tom Araya was struggling for that one on the vocals. And then they played probably 3 of Slayer's biggest songs, South of Heaven, Rain of Blood and Angel of Death, and the crowd were well pumped up for this. It was great to see. I do like the riffs in those 3 songs, so that was good, I suppose. Next on were Guns N' Roses, and they started off with just Axl Rose at the piano singing a version of It's All Right by Black Sabbath, and I thought his piano playing was a bit rushed, to be honest, and his vocals were not good. He's kind of come to that stage in his career where he doesn't have the power in his voice anymore, so what he's doing is he's trying to sing falsetto and push it, and it kind of sounds like Mickey Mouse or something, or one of the characters from South Park, as one of my mates had said to me. So I really thought he missed the mark here on this one. Then they played 2 songs from Never Say Die, which was very unusual. So they played the song Never Say Die, and then they played Junior's Eyes, and I thought that was, to be honest, a good tip of the hat to deep tracks that probably other bands wouldn't have thought of. Something from Black Sabbath's 8th album, which a lot of people would say is probably the worst album of the first incarnation of Black Sabbath. But it was good to see those 2 songs being played. And then they played Sabbath Bloody Sabbath from the album Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, which is a fantastic song, a fantastic riff. But again, Axl was not at the races on this one. His vocals were very hard to listen to. Not that he was out of tune. He was out of tune and pitchy here and there, but it's just the overall sound and tone of his vocals was not good. I thought the band did excellent. Slash, Izzy, and the new drummer, I don't know who he is, but he's absolutely fantastic. They really rocked it. And then Guns N' Roses finished off with Welcome to the Jungle, followed by Paradise City. So, you know, what you expect from them. But I thought overall, due to Axl's vocals, it was a poor performance overall. Next up were Metallica, and they started with Hole in the Sky, which is a Black Sabbath song from the album Sabotage. I thought they really nailed that one, and they didn't go the route that a lot of people, including me, thought they would go. I thought they might play the stuff off the Garage Days Revisited, the Garage Inc. album. So they had already covered Black Sabbath songs such as Sabra Cadabra and The National Acrobat, but they didn't go that route. They decided to pick 2 brand new songs. So they started with Hole in the Sky, then they went into 2 songs from Ride the Lightning, Creeping Death, followed by For Whom the Bell Tolls. Crowd went insane for this, and Metallica sounded fantastic. They were one of the best bands of the whole day, without a doubt. Johnny Blade then was another Black Sabbath song that they played, and this one was off the album Never Say Die as well. So there we go, we had 3 songs from the album Never Say Die, and I'd say a lot of people are rooting through their collections and pulling that album again, or looking it up on Spotify to see why Guns N' Roses and Metallica decided to pick so many songs off this album. But I think it's great some of the deeper cuts from Black Sabbath are getting played live with such energy, because it really shows that they weren't just a band who had 1 or 2 good albums. They actually have good albums throughout their whole career. Then Metallica finished off with Battery and Master of Puppets, and the crowd went absolutely insane for this. This was unbelievable stuff altogether, and probably one of the highlights of the day before Ozzy and Black Sabbath took to the stage. So in my opinion, so far, Gojira and Metallica definitely ruled on the bill. Then we had Ozzy Osbourne taken to the stage, and it was kind of unusual because he was obviously on the chair. We all knew he would be on a chair, and he had his backing band. So he had Zakk Wylde, I believe Mike Ennis was on the bass, Adam Wakeman on keys, and Tommy Clufitos on drums. So he had his usual backing band there, and he went through a number of his classics from his career. So he started off with I Don't Know, and straight out of the gap, I was thinking these vocals are really good, like really good. And I thought, right, okay, I wonder, is he getting a little bit of help here? Like it doesn't really matter. It was great to see him live and great to see him doing his thing up there, and I do think he was singing live, but there might have been just a little bit of help there. So the first song, I kind of had my suspicions, but it was great to see Ozzy, great to see the band rocking. Then he went into Mr. Crowley, and again that was solid, absolutely brilliant. I mentioned earlier about Zakk Wylde having distortion when he should have maybe played the guitar clean. His tone for Pantera, I should say, was not good, Zakk Wylde's. His tone wasn't great for this either, so maybe he had issues with his amps. I'm just thinking, I don't know, but I'm just surmising. Then they went into Suicide Solution, which was brilliant, but again, I thought that Suicide Solution, from then on, it seemed super edited. Some of the way the camera was like framing out things and the way they were zooming in on people and stuff, I thought was very heavily edited. It looked great. It looked like a DVD production, and you could see that they were performing live, but I just think there was maybe a little bit of help and a bit of editing here and there, which is no problem. We got a good product. Like you got your money's worth, and I did see some videos from people in the ground just basically on their phone looking at the stage, and it did sound as good on the ground as it did at home. So I'm not sure how they did that, but fair play to the engineers who mixed and mastered this audio and were able to put all this audio and visual together and get it out in such a short time frame. The next song up, should I say, was Mama I'm Coming Home, which I think was a very emotional moment for the whole stadium. Again, I need to look back at this set again. I've watched through the whole thing live, and then I've watched probably half of it again, but it was pulled and I didn't have enough time to watch it twice through. So if it does come out on DVD, I'll definitely be buying it, because I think it was just a momentous moment. But Mama I'm Coming Home was definitely one of those songs where you could see people had their phones, the lights on their phones up. You know, the whole stadium was singing along. There was a lot of people teary-eyed. It was a very emotional moment, and I thought the filmmakers captured that very well. And obviously, as we know, there is an Ozzy Osbourne film going to be made, and this whole concert was a part of that film. So it made sense that they had really, you know, highly professional producers and editors and mixers and engineers in there getting that stuff together. But I thought it was a fantastic spectacle, Mama, I'm Coming Home. And then he finished off with Crazy Train, which was absolutely brilliant. Then they took a little break, or Ozzy took a little break before Black Sabbath came out, and then we could hear the bell. I thought it was going to be the song Black Sabbath from the album Black Sabbath by the band Black Sabbath, the first ever song on their first ever album, and I thought that would have been a great way to start it, but no, they went into War Pigs. So obviously Tony Iommi on guitar, Geezer Butler on bass, and Bill Ward on drums. So they sounded quite good at the start, but then as the fills for War Pigs came in, particularly in the verse, Bill Ward, he was trying to throw fills in there, and like, the man is 77 years of age, so, you know, fair play to him for even getting fit enough to get up on stage. It was great to see him there alive and well, but I do think that he struggled a little bit to keep up with War Pigs. He was struggling to put the fills in, and then he was struggling to get back on the groove. So yeah, it was a little bit hard to watch, but at the same time it was a good celebration for Black Sabbath, and it was great to see Bill up there because he hadn't played with the band in a long time. So after War Pigs then, Geezer Butler went into a bass solo at the start for NIB, which was absolutely fantastic. That really rocked. That was probably one of the better songs Black Sabbath played. Then they went into Iron Man, which was brilliant, but again, Bill struggled a little bit on this one, but still it was great energy, and the crowd were really up for this one. And then they finished with a slowed down version of Paranoid, and it was absolutely brilliant. We thought we'd actually get another song, but didn't happen. This was the final one. When Paranoid was finished, there was a thank you, and then Geezer and Tony and Bill left stage, and Ozzy seemed to be a little bit frustrated on stage because he was being left there in the chair. And then the camera panned out to the fireworks, but I believe from looking at photos and videos online that Tony and Geezer came back on with a cake and presented it to Ozzy, and there's pictures of that. So that was absolutely fantastic to see that they didn't just end it there and end it on a bad note. But I thought, all in all, being a big rock fan, a big metal fan, and a big Black Sabbath fan, it was a great day of music. Couldn't take anything away. It was well worth the money. I think it was like €42 or something to stream it. It was well worth the money. I would have done it again in a heartbeat. I think it's a shame now the videos are all taken down from YouTube, and they're taken down from that link on the website. I think you only had 48 hours to watch it, and I'm sure they're getting ready. They're putting together a DVD with bonus material and all the rest of it, and that's probably going to be issued around Christmas, I would have thought. But I'm looking forward to that DVD coming out. I'll definitely buy it if it comes out. And I think it was just a fantastic celebration of Ozzy Osbourne's life and Black Sabbath's life, and, you know, the whole influence they've had on this genre of heavy rock or heavy metal or whatever you want to call it. And I thought it was absolutely fantastic. But I'm going to be doing a few more videos on the other aspects, as I said, like the whole copyright strike and live streaming and all the rest. But I hope you like this video. This is my full review of the Black Sabbath Back to the Beginning concert at the weekend. If you liked the video, hit the like button. If you could also subscribe and leave a comment down below, let me know what your favourite band of the day was. Let me know what your least favourite band of the day was, or your least favourite performance, and I will talk to you on the next one. Bye for now.